right. Here we are. And hey, first person here. First person. I'm just sharing this link here with some people. Just give me a second here. Oh, 3 people. Good. Okay. People are starting to show up here. Starting to show up. Give me 1 second here. Just get people ready for live chat. They're sharing it on Patreon. So if you guys aren't Patreon supporters, just jump on there. You can support this channel on Patreon if you want. Hey there, MMA. How's it going, big guy? How are you? Hey, Michael. Hey, Alexander. And Facundo. Hi, Jason. Greetings from Argentina. I love your content. Thanks. Although I never know what my content's going to be. So some of you guys are probably going to ask about that because my content seems to change all the time, right? Sorry, I'm just checking. This is a new screen here. I'm kind of checking this out here. See. So anyway, what's happening with my channel is that I took a few weeks off training, and then basically I just decided to focus on my other projects such as video for Todd Richard, and I'm also working with a bit of a rock band. I might anyway. I'm kind of in talks with that right now, and I'm doing music videos and things because it's kind of fun. I like making music, so you guys know I'm a big part of this channel. Sometimes my music production. And so I've been focusing on that, but that doesn't mean I'm giving up this. I mean, I'm going to the gym right after this. Actually, I'm going to go train and, get a good workout in and whatever, right? So, training's still there, but it's just a matter of sometimes your creative focus goes in different directions, right? So you go through these creative moments where you're really inspired when it comes down to your training, or you're really inspired when it comes to photography or something like that. So I like doing that, but I still train the whole time. It's just that sometimes I know that my body also needs a deload or a break because I haven't taken a break of 2 weeks for a long time. Like it's been at least a couple of years, right? So I kind of needed that break for a bit of time. So, hey, Jose from Philippines, nice. Florida, right on. Yeah, people from all over the place. Hey, Dan, Summerhill, okay. So we got 16 people on here. So one thing I want to do is just do a live chat or whatever and see if you guys had some questions or something. You just want to talk, talk stuff, Did you guys watch the last video I just put up yesterday? I noticed like YouTube, I don't think really shared it that much. So I only got like a couple hundred views on it. And I think, sometimes if you don't upload regularly enough, like every single day for a while, sometimes you lose a bit of momentum. So make sure you check that out. I just made a song with Todd Richard there where he's singing in the background. I made this dance music song. So it's not finished yet, but it's kind of a rough cut. So you guys might like that. And I'd be interested in hearing your guys' feedback on that type of format for songs as well, right? Because I'm always looking for different stuff, different cool things to do, right? And so how you guys been doing? Toronto, yeah. Hey, Dan, I recognize you. I recognize the name. Toronto and Taiwan. Wow, we got people from all over the place here. Nice. So, yeah. Are we going to change the world or what? We got like the world organization here at Galantians right now, showing up from all over the place. Yeah, thanks, MMA. Yeah, good mix of 2 different music styles. Well, the thing is, he actually recorded it right at my house. So I had the music already done, and then he just sang to it, and we just were coming up with lyrics and things. So okay, so it's 18.7 mob or 87 mob or whatever. 187 mob, sorry. Currently 205, 14.7. I want to stay near 200, but I want abs. What's the best way to achieve my goal? Well, diet. You're 205, 14% body fat. The best way to achieve abs is diet. That's really it. Gain muscle, but then of course you have to have your diet in check. So if you want to be a bodybuilder, you want to gain as much muscle as possible. And then at some point you start to cut the body fat if you start putting on a little bit more than you want, right? So say if you're at 14% body fat, which isn't bad. I mean, that's a typical kind of level that a lot of people, they usually stay at around 14% when they want to put on muscle mass, 10%, 40, it depends on the person, but around 10 or 14%, maybe 15%. But the best way to achieve abs is diet, honestly. It's all diet, really. It's not necessarily the training. Like so many people talk about training and everything. Well, training's good, but if you put in years of training, what'll happen is that after you put in years of training, your metabolism will be a little bit faster because you have more muscle mass. And then from there, when you diet, the diet's more effective. So it's like a synergy that happens between the two. What's the best diet for a cut? Well, the best diet for a cut is the one that helps you maintain your muscle mass. Now, there's lots of fad diets out there, like the keto diet and all this kind of stuff. But really what I would say is the diet that helps you maintain as much strength as possible. And that's a good sign that you're maintaining at least the most amount of muscle mass, right? Because I saw lots of guys blow their entire, all of their gains from the whole year just from trying to cut too harshly. They go low carb, low fat, and they go too fast, too quick. And they're not thinking about what foods actually feed the muscles instead of just get cut as fast as possible, right? So they're trying to look like obsessed about getting an ab vein within 3 days, right? So they're cutting their calories down to nothing. And then what ends up happening, they end up losing their muscle with it because the body will eat the muscle tissue faster than the fat tissue. So you want to ease the body into burning fat. You don't want to just cut massive amounts of calories and then from there, you just kind of hit a catabolism is what you call it, right? Your body just starts to eat itself. So the best way to do it is feed the body as much good food as possible. Now, good food is going to be relative to a person. Like for me, I would start with carbs like rice, brown rice, yams, potatoes, oatmeal, and chicken breast, turkey breast, like low-fat sources. And I would eat that 5 or 6 times a day. And I would be strict. I would stay low in the fat. And I would stay strict on that for a period of a week or two and see what happens on my body. And I start to cut a little bit, start to cut a little bit, start to cut a little bit. And then there would be a time where I would plateau. And then what I would do is cut 1 meal of carb out, 1 meal of carbs out. And then I would continue and then see how the body goes. And then I would continue this process until I started to lower the carbs down to maybe 1 or 2 meals. And then what I found was that I wanted to trick the metabolism here and there. So I'd have a day or two where I did really high amount of carbs and protein. And then I go back into this whole system again where I'd only do 1 or 2 meals a day of carbs with protein, right? But I'd stick to as high a protein as I wanted. Like I would eat as much protein. As soon as I had a craving for food, protein. I crave some more food, protein. And crave some more food, protein. Like I would never limit that. So I never counted calories. I never did it that way. Chicken breast and broccoli 4 times a day. Yeah, I mean, you could do chicken breast and broccoli 6 times a day. Why is it 4 times? You know what I'm saying? Like I would eat 5 or 6 times a day because I wasn't eating a lot of the calories, right? So how many times a day you eat is also going to be dependent on how long are you awake. If you're only awake 8 hours, 4 times a day is probably fine. But if you're awake 16 hours, that's going to change, right? So your metabolism is going to be going faster when you're awake. So you're going to have to eat differently depending on how many hours a day are you up and all that kind of stuff. So in the end, you have to pay attention to what is happening in your body. So say you're doing the chicken breast and broccoli 4 times a week. Well, what would happen is if you start dropping weight like crazy, you start getting really weak and everything, you know that you probably need some more carbs in order to fill up those muscle stores and the glycogen stores, and also to keep your body from eating the muscle tissue, right? Because you need the protein, but the protein is going to get used as energy. And that's not going to be an efficient way to use protein. So yeah, you're going to burn a lot of fat off, but you're going to burn a lot of muscle off too, because your body's going to want to eat itself because it can't get enough energy from the protein. So it's going to have to find it from somewhere else. And the easiest place to find that is actually from your muscle stores, not your fat stores. So the body will go right to the muscle stores first and foremost, and second to go to the fat stores if you don't have a bit of a buffer there. So you need a slow burn. Like fat burns like kerosene. A kerosene lamp, you light it, and it burns for hours and hours and hours, burns forever. But if you light a potato chip on fire, those carbs just explodes, right? So you need some carbs to help buffer that effect of the body wanting to eat the muscle tissue. So you have to look at your body. If you're dropping weight faster than 2 or 3 pounds a week, then you know you're going way too strict on your diet and you need to up the calories through energy food. Brazil, hey Pedro, how you doing? Yeah, long time no live chat. Yeah, Calvin, I've been busy. Yeah. Okay, so from New York, another guy, Joseph. What do I think about alternating a 2-day split between upper and lower body split? 1 exercise per body part, 5-6 days a week. Upper body day much longer though. I don't know what you're saying there. Upper body much. Okay. Any way you want to split the body up, you can. And I do find legs are way more intense to train than upper body, obviously. So legs are way more systemic. When you train squats or heavy Romanian deadlifts or whatever, you're going to use a lot more lower back, a lot more upper back, a lot more of the overall nervous system. The immune system is going to get taxed a lot more. So yeah, having legs by its own individual day can work. But it's up to you, really. see, a lot of people, they obsess about the details, but in the end, just ask yourself this one question. Can you hit that body part intensely? Can you hit it intensely for those 3 or 4 sets or whatever it is that you're going to be training? And if you can, then yeah, then that split is fine for you. Now, I know you're saying 5 to 6 sets, or how many sets are you saying? You didn't say how many sets. Okay, well, you know, just basically hit it to 3 or 4 sets is usually enough to stimulate a muscle to grow, bottom line. Sometimes I do go into the higher volume sets, like sometimes I'll do 10 sets or 8 sets or something. It just depends on how I feel. But a lot of times, 3 or 4 sets is enough to stimulate the body to grow. And that's something to consider. So yeah, whatever way you split it up, it's up to you. Calvin, I don't know, you thought when you run low on carbs that your body reverts to fat for energy. It does revert to fat for energy, but your body's always burning percentages of fat, okay, carbs, and protein. And depending on what level of starvation you're in will depend on what the body goes towards, right? So if you're really starving yourself to death, your body will go to protein fast, and like first and foremost, because that's an easier one to get energy from instead of the fat stores. So yeah, you'll burn some fat off, but you're going to lose muscle at the same proportion. So you're going to be doing the opposite of what you want to do in bodybuilding, is to preserve the muscle at the same time as skimming off the fat. So that's the thing. So yeah, you go too strict, too fast, and you're going to burn some fat off, but you're going to burn a lot of muscle off too, right? Which is why you see some of the, you know, people in the unnatural realm start to use substances in order to compensate for this, to make sure they're anti-catabolic. But as a natural bodybuilder, you have to make sure that you're not trying to cut too quick. Okay. Victor Chapawa, what is my opinion on the keto weight loss diet? I pretty much shared that at the beginning of this video. I don't believe in that stuff. You know, I think, like, I talk about this all the time in my other videos. So if you guys could, I know a lot of you guys have been around for a while, just watch the other videos. The thing is with these fad diets and stuff, they're great for people that are super, super overweight and they don't want to perform on any level. They're not really interested in being able to move or do anything. And sometimes you just need anything you can do to just keep a person from eating too much. That's it. I mean, so whatever you do to get them to do that, then it doesn't matter what the diet is. As long as they're eating less than they were before, it's going to make a difference. But it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be better bodybuilders for it. They might be burning up some fat and burning off some muscle tissue, but their first priority isn't maintaining muscle tissue. So it's just totally different. And once you get down to 5% body fat or 8% body fat, the rules change. Things change. You need to be more and more impeccable to how you eat in order to preserve the muscle mass. But if you're sitting at 40% body fat, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, you could just basically starve yourself to death for about 2 months and you're probably still going to be a reasonable body weight by the time you're done, right? But the problem is that you're going to shut that metabolism down. So it's not a good long-term plan. The best long-term plan is to put on muscle and to slowly eat in a way that you are feeding the muscles and feeding the muscles and not feeding the fat stores so much. And then from there, it'll be a more maintainable position for you once you actually start to get leaner. So that's the thing. So keto diets and all this stuff, I think maybe short term, maybe for a day or two, maybe it could help reset blood sugar or something. There's a possibility, but I find long term, keep it simple, right? Keep it simple is the best way. Protein, carbs every meal, or protein and fats every meal, but then you have a little bit of carbs in your diet. But I find that absolutes, like where you just don't even touch carbs, don't even touch this, don't touch this, I find that that's a little bit too extreme in a lot of cases. And your body does need a mix of certain things. Square Banana, have I ever tried restricted time fasting? Well, I think I probably did it by accident, but I don't believe in fasting. Fasting doesn't seem to work. Not when it comes down to putting on raw muscle mass. Not for me anyway. Jake Yukiardi, any advice for someone who isn't fat but bloats a lot? You probably have an acidophilus problem, like your gut bacteria or the flora in your gut is probably not replenished enough. Sometimes this can get messed up from antibiotics or maybe toxicity through heavy metals or something like that. So acidophilus is a good thing for you to take. Also check with a naturopath, like go see a naturopath and find out what your food sensitivities are. Because if you're eating the wrong foods for you, like there's certain foods that you might be just sensitive to that can be throwing off your entire digestive system. You may need to change something. So, because I've talked to people, right? I've talked to some people where their blood type or their genetics or whatever, when they eat certain meats and all this kind of stuff, it just totally throws them off, even though they want to eat meat, right? And then they go vegetarian and they feel better. And then maybe there's some meat sources that work right for them, but not the other ones they were choosing. So some people, they eat the chicken breast thing because that's what bodybuilders are supposed to eat, but chicken breast might not be the right meat for them. Maybe they need to eat something that's more fish related or more eggs or something. So you have to take these factors into account. It's not just about one food or one size fits all, which is basically the Galantian message, right? This is what I'm saying on this channel. There's going to be specific situations in your life that are going to dictate what is perfect for you. So I know this for a fact with different people with different blood types. Even different blood types can sometimes affect what foods are right for them. And if you try to eat like somebody else that has a totally different blood type, that alone, that one factor alone can make a difference in how your body reacts to the food. So so get that checked out. Find out what your blood type is. Find out with a naturopath about what type of foods you're sensitive to. This might give you some idea of a better way to organize your diet anyway. Okay. Bulldog grip for barbell bench press. What do you think? What's bulldog grip? Are you talking about overhand like this? Are you talking about that? Is that bulldog grip? Everybody's got terms now on the internet. There's always a term. I don't bother learning the terms. It's like it's just so yeah. So let me know what you mean by that, and then I can kind of answer your question about the bulldog. Can you build muscle with milk and eggs? I think you could. Yeah, eggs have a lot of protein, and so does milk. Has some protein. It's not high quality except for the whey part. You have to drink a hell of a lot of milk for it. But yeah, you probably could. Okay. I'm still waiting for the guy to talk to me back. See, that's the hard part about on here. Sometimes I ask a question, there's a delay by the time the thing comes up here. So, okay, I don't know what the bulldog grip is, so you have to explain that to me. Fighting Challenger, what do I think about if it fits your macros? I have a video on that, so take a look at that Fighting Challenger. It's exactly called What I Think About If It Fits Your Macros, and you can watch that, and I'll tell you quite strongly about what I feel about that. Northeast. Okay, let me see here. What else do we got? Okay, I work out at night, which I don't like eating really late. So can I eat lots of carbs before I work out and skip carbs for my post meal? Yeah, you could. I mean, any way you want to function is fine. There's some research that suggests that, and you know me with research, right? I don't really believe too much in research. Like I said, every situation demands a different sort of strategy, right? But yeah, you could still eat carbs at night or whatever if you want. I mean, the thing is, don't try to cut and don't try to build muscle at the same time. This is one thing I find that people do because they get so nervous about eating the wrong food that they don't eat at all, or they try to over control everything instead of actually focusing on one goal at a time. And sometimes this can work against you because you're so nervous about eating at the wrong time that you're trying to eat like an elite bodybuilder ready for a show, like 4 days before the Olympia or something like that. And you're basically not even at the intermediate level of bodybuilding yet. Like, I find that people that they would do a lot better if they just focused on building muscle and then go for periods of time where they cut body fat. And then when they're in a cut, the rules change. That's when you're not necessarily looking to build muscle as much as you're looking to keep the muscle you have or the highest percentage as possible while you're cutting that body fat. So the diet goal changes slightly. They look similar, but they can change a bit, right? So right now, like me, I had some rice and steak today. I had some oatmeal and protein powder, and I even had a hamburger. I went to the Kilby Historic Site close to here or whatever, and there was hamburgers. I just had a hamburger, right? Because I wanted to have some protein. So my first priority wasn't staying lean, but it was to make sure I get the protein in and to make sure I get that in regularly. Now, I want to have the best possible choices. I want to have rice and chicken more often or lower fat type meats and things. But at the same time, I'm not starving myself because I'm nervous about eating the wrong thing, you see, because I'd rather put on muscle and get back in the groove here and make sure I have energy for the workout when I go to the gym. I'm not nervous about, oh my God, I ate the wrong thing or my abs going to show, you know. This stuff gets in the way. This obsessive compulsive type of thinking, although it works for some people, more often than not, I find it gets in the way of long-term goals, right? So first decide what your goal is and then organize everything around that. And then when it's time for you to cut a bit, well then, yeah, organize your diet around that then. And then you could say, okay, I can't have carbs after my workout, and I can't have carbs too late before I go to bed because I'm on a cut now. But when you're not on a cut, then I would say, why are you worried so much about having carbs before you go to bed, right? You know, so it just depends what your goal is. Okay, so let me see here. All right. Okay, so Facundo is saying currently training for strength, but he's at a plateau for at least a month. Yeah, welcome to my world. I mean, the thing is, you can get plateaus for a long period of time. Like sometimes you'll notice that you'll have a plateau. Like there's this big sort of thing on the internet where people are like, oh yeah, you just keep on going up, keep on going up. There's always results, always results, always results. It's like that's BS, because the closer you get to higher levels of strength, then you'll notice everything just goes like this, and then all of a sudden just plateaus, right? And then you might go up little divots here, go up little divots, and you'll notice that when you eat more, this will go up, right? When you eat more, a lot of times the eating will actually help you bust through those plateaus. But you won't necessarily bust through those plateaus if you're eating like a gerbil at the same time as trying to go forward. That's why you see strongmen, they just eat like crazy. So that's one thing to consider is your eating. It's not just about your training. Sometimes it's about your eating, and sometimes your eating needs a look. You need to take a look at that. The other thing is that, like I said, when you get more elite, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to get through those strength barriers and stuff. And sometimes you'll notice that your legs will go up in strength, but your upper body will lag behind for a bit. And then your upper body will go up in strength, and your legs will lag behind. So there's different areas of your body that will actually start to go up in strength, but then, you know, other areas seem to be not getting any results at all. And it almost seems to be the way the body works. It's almost like one system has to increase first before another system can increase. And that will be also dictated by what type of movements you're doing. So if people are doing really leg dominant training, a lot of heavy squats, a lot of deadlifts, all that kind of stuff, sometimes that will detract from your actual pushing type movements, because when you're pushing and all the resources of healing and recovery are going to your back and going to your nervous system and going to your hips and your muscles and your legs and everything, sometimes that can impede your recovery for your upper body stuff. And I've noticed that sometimes the lower body will let's just say it will rob the resources from other areas to make strength gains in other areas. So this is kind of how it works. So it's not necessarily quite so simple, and you don't always make these linear gains. You know, sometimes you'll go up in one area and then you're down another and up, and then it keeps on going like this. But do pay attention to your eating. Eat more food and see what happens. And I guarantee you that will make the biggest difference. The eating is so underrated. Oh, Rhode Island. Hey, Michael, how you doing? How to get rid of soft muscle and make them hard? Well, you probably don't have muscle, you have body fat if it's soft. So or you have muscle that's unused, right? Not much tension there. So it's not about getting rid of anything, it's just about training it. So just keep training it, and it just naturally gets harder and more toned. That's why it's called muscle tone, right? It's partially flexed. That's muscle tone there, Laxus. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Nothing Burger saying pulling strength is going up, but pushing strength has stayed the same for a while. That's the way a lot of times it happens, right? Like pulling strength is a lot easier to achieve than pushing, I find, for a lot of people. And also, this will also be dictated by what injuries you have. Like, for instance, with me, my rotator cuff, laxity because of the hockey injury and the dislocating shoulder and everything. For me to get the groove down to increase my bench press is totally different now than it used to be, and it's much harder, right? So this is going to be different for each person. But if you have any sort of little imbalances or all that kind of stuff, sometimes you will notice that pushing movements are harder for you to increase in strength at. But yeah, you just keep going, keep on putting in the effort, and keep on eating, and eventually it just comes down to just to consistency, really. What do I think about sprinting and workouts? I think sprinting can be really great. I think sprinting is awesome. I think sprinting at the end of your workout would be better, as far as if you're going to be doing intervals or real quick to getting that breath going. You want to make sure that you're not sprinting in between and doing, like I did a video on this on supersets and giant sets. If you're doing giant sets, you want to make sure that your breath is not the weak link. And a lot of times when people are trying to make muscle gains, their breath is the weak link. And if you're doing that too much, then what you're going to be doing is burning some fat, which is fine, but you're not necessarily going to be putting on strength. So it depends on what goal you're having in that workout or not. Is it strength, or is it just burning out the muscle or burning out the cardio system? What's your goal, right? Can you skip on cardio if you train each body part frequently? Yeah, Joseph, I pretty much skip on cardio most of the time. I don't really do a lot of cardio. But again, cardio is going to have its own benefits, right? So cardio, it's not like I couldn't benefit from cardio, but it also depends on your particular situation. If you're sitting at 30% body fat and you need to burn those extra calories, then I'd say, yeah, skipping on cardio might not be an option for you. You need to do the cardio in order to achieve the result you're looking for. So it depends on what your goal is, right? Yeah, your diet's in check too, right? That's right. So yeah, Joseph, the one thing to answer your question more clearly is the fact is that if you are doing more frequent training and you're doing the bigger body parts more often, yeah, you will tend to be burning more calories doing that. I find that my body tends to get more muscle tone, more pumped. It actually does more with the calories that I'm eating, for sure. Okay, so James Kang, natural athletes can only absorb so much protein. Enhanced athletes consume about 250 grams of foreign. I will disagree with you to a point on this, James. I'm not saying enhanced guys don't have advantages or anything, but I found that 250 to 300 grams of protein a day actually on a lower carb type situation for me or medium was actually necessary. And if I ate less than that, I wasn't actually keeping muscle and I wasn't able to keep the energy in the gym. So be careful about this information that you get on the internet. A lot of it is BS, where they just basically have these ideas and these stipulations about this is this and that's this and this rule for this enhanced person, that rule for that. It's just a bunch of BS, honestly. You have to go with what your body's telling you. And I'm going to say this, that you may need more protein than what they're saying. As far as these guys that are like 150 pounds soaking wet and they're talking about how they're experts in natural bodybuilding and that everybody bigger than them must be cheating somehow. So there's a lot of that, well, I guess you could say butthurt jealousy type stuff going on in the fitness community on YouTube. And there are some guys that are natural that haven't really achieved much that are just basically making up these rules. And not all of them are so concrete. That's all I can say. Okay, let's see here. Chris Dajum, burn his breath. I have no idea what that means, but okay. Okay, just saw a Trojan before entering this live. Don't know what that means either. Okay. Mike Wilson, yes, I'm 100% natural. I have always been 100% natural, and I pretty much pride myself in it. I've actually had fist fights over it in bars because people didn't believe me, and I was a little bit angry about it because they were just being assholes about it. But the bottom line, yes, I believe 100% natural because what's the point? I mean, what's like I used to see guys back in the day, they do something and then they get muscles for 2 months and then they lose everything 6 months later. And I'm like, well, what was the point of that? And then they had all these different side effects and problems with their body. I was like, this doesn't make sense. And so my main priority was that I want to be able to train for the rest of my life. I don't want to just train for a few months, look great, and then lose everything. I mean, what's the point of that? So yeah, watch my video if you want on why I decided to be a natural bodybuilder. So I'm second generation of lifting weights in my family, and I have a twin brother that also lifts weights. So yeah, I always stay natural. What do I think of yoga? Seems to be not cardio intensive, so should preserve muscle. Jason Yang, not necessarily. I think yoga can be a useful exercise for some things, but when it comes down to lifting weights, I'm not sure it's really a good idea in some cases. Okay, so just bear with me here. When you're doing a lot of core work and you overuse the core or overstretch the core, then when you go to do heavy squats or heavy deadlifts and stuff, you might have some laxity in the joint or instability or overstretchiness, because it didn't come up with another word. And then that sometimes can cause an injury when you start to lift heavy, right? So you do need to have a little bit of stability and tightness in certain areas in order to be able to stabilize the weight. So yeah, if you took a guy like that Thor guy, Magnuson or whatever his name is, and and you started stretching him all over the place, most likely you'll screw up his training rather than help him. So there's stretching that's good with the hamstrings and things, but once you start stretching the back and working the psoas and weird angles and twisting things all over the place, it can cause some problems. So I wouldn't recommend yoga practice as a part of a bodybuilding practice, unless, of course, it was a very subtle yoga. Like you're just doing light stretches on hamstrings, light stretches on stuff, but you're not over twisting and messing up the core so much, right? Okay, Dean Coke was showing respect, but fair enough. Rest in peace. I have no idea who he's talking to. I don't know who you're talking to. Dean Cook, really. Okay. I don't know what's going on there, so you guys have to elaborate. I'm getting a lot of messages here. So, what do I think about boxing? I think boxing's great. I mean, for bodybuilding, not so good, but it's great as far as the sport. I think, yeah, it takes a lot of talent to be a good boxer for sure. Mm. Chris, yeah, I'm not saying there aren't guys that are bigger than I was at my peak or anything. There probably were a few. I mean, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of guys out there that are not, that are just basically just talking stuff that are just not necessarily, uh, yeah, they're not necessarily. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. They're just basically jealous, and they're coming up with ideas of how everybody else bigger than him is a problem, right? Is nitric oxide good? NO2 is actually not a bad supplement. It's actually pretty good. I haven't used it for a long, long time, but I found that it was actually a decent supplement. Let me just go through here. So, moving, stretching better before a workout than static. Yeah, I'd agree with you there, Joseph. Yeah. So being 6'3", I find it impossible to hit even parallel on squats. Can you give me any advice? I care about bodybuilding. The thing is, it's not about your height. It's more about your individual dimensions between femur and back. And I've talked about this a million times. It's about the ratios, right? It's not necessarily about your height, but at the same time, yeah, you don't need to hit parallel in order to build legs. I never did. So yeah, you don't have to worry about it. So Dean Cook, back on the team. Okay. I think you're having a conversation with somebody else. So I don't know what you're saying. um, Yeah, I would say, Jay, boxing and wrestling are more useful in self-defense than martial arts in general. I would say, yeah, especially like just karate or something. I would think you're probably right with that. Do I take creatine? I have taken creatine, and I do like creatine. It's just that if you're on a cut, it's hard to tell whether you're leaning up or not, or what your diet's doing. So I don't take creatine regularly, but I might try it out again or whatever. I do find it helps with upper body strength quite a bit and helps with the pumps and stuff. So they say that anything that helps with the water retention inside the muscle cell can actually assist with protein synthesis and also help with putting on muscle. So yeah, creatine can be a useful supplement for sure. Okay, at what point would ongoing elbow tendonitis indicate that it is time to stop lifting altogether for a period of time? Well, I would say if you're doing, if you have something for 2 weeks to 6 weeks and it's just constantly bugging you, you probably have, either a muscle thing going on or there's some sort of imbalance, or maybe you're doing an exercise wrong for you. But it doesn't hurt to take a break to see what happens to that and get some massage and get it looked at. Yeah. But I'd say if something continues for 3 weeks, 4 weeks or something, then it's probably time to really look at, say, okay, what's going on here? Yeah. What do I think about carbs during a cut? I think, Mike, they're necessary to a point. I mean, I think it is going to be dependent on your metabolism, but you do need some carbs during a cut because otherwise your body's going to get. Here's the thing: if you lower the calories too much, your body's metabolism shuts down, and then it works against you, right? So you want some carbs to preserve the muscle mass because that's going to help preserve the metabolism, and carbs have a protein sparing effect. So it's a matter of finding the right carb and the right amount, and not having too much. So you have to experiment to find out what that is. And then I did find it's useful to raise my calories through carbs for a day or two to load up almost, and basically, when I loaded up on carbs for a day or two, then I noticed when I cut them back down again, it's almost like my body seemed to respond better. Like my muscles were fuller, but at the same time, I was getting leaner still. So that was what I did for the natural universe anyway, back in the day. Nothing burger. I haven't tried too many of the different creatines. Monohydrate is really the main one that I've tried. So that's the only one I can really speak about. I don't really know what a landmine exercise is there, John, although somebody's asked me about that before. Yeah. Yeah. Muscle mark. No thanks. Take my shirt off. Not interested. It's cold, man. What do you think of double supinated underhand snatch grip straight legged deadlifts? There's no reason why you'd want to do that. Page 232. And the thing is, with underhand grip, it has a little bit more risk for bicep tears and stuff. So I would say there's really no need for you to do that if you're doing it. That's just basically doing it just for the sake of variety, but it's not necessarily going to offer any more usefulness to the exercise, really. Okay. Mike Wilson, keto. You're asking me about the ketogenic diet. I actually answered that question earlier on in this this live chat, so you can scroll back and listen to that. Okay. Okay, so Jones Bones or whatever is saying, I work with a guy who can deadlift 370 kilograms and bench press 210 kilograms. He said he's natural. Do you think that's possible? I said, yeah, I think so. I bench press 425 myself. So yeah, it's possible. I don't know how big he is or what, but it's definitely possible. Those are lifts that are achievable as a natural person, depending on what body weight you're at. But I would say that that's definitely possible. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Albert Garcia. So I train for strength and size in the same session. Is that bad? And also I max 225 on Monday, and then a week later I feel weaker every time and can't get past it. Okay, so if you train for strength and size in the same sessions, is that bad? It's not bad, but if you do it permanently and then you start to notice your strength dropping, that means something has to change. So that means that possibly you're not eating enough. Possibly you're doing too much hypertrophy work in the same session, and you're not basically saving it all up for that explosive lift. And sometimes in power training, it's all about the explosiveness. It isn't about the fatiguing of the muscle, right? But those two things together are what create bodybuilding as we know it, right? When you can lift more weight and then you start to rep out with that weight, that's how you put on muscle mass. So the fact is that the explosiveness isn't a problem, but it becomes a problem when you burn out from overtraining with too much volume, right? So you're doing, say, a strength workout, then you're doing all these different sets upon sets upon sets, and then you're burning out the entire system. And then you go to do a power workout again, you're kind of overtrained. Your body might need a bit of a rest from the volume, and you need to just basically simplify, do less volume for a bit, and then and start focusing on the explosiveness again. And that's how you focus on strength. And then, yeah, start separating the workouts, strength workouts, and then a hypertrophy workout. But maybe overall, you might be doing a little bit too much. That's a possibility. I mean, I'm just guessing here, but that's a possibility. Yeah, so we will see what else I have here. What else is going on here? Line of God, number one tip to grow arms, triceps specifically. Okay. So this is something I learned from being injured from, the hockey stuff, like dislocating shoulder and everything. Stable joints, like say if you can stabilize the shoulder and then do tricep work, it's a lot easier to get tricep stimulation or even bicep stimulation. But if your shoulder moves forward and back like mine do, just because of the injuries, right? That makes it a little bit harder to stimulate. So sometimes overhead tricep extension, you see me do with the dumbbells, I'm doing with the dumbbells all the time, right? Because the shoulder girdle stabilized, I find I can get a really great deep tricep fatigue from that. So think this way, if you want to hit the triceps, you want to make sure that the shoulder's stable, and then you just can really focus on that extension of that elbow. Now, the other thing is that you want to hit all the heads. So say I'm laying on a bench and I'm doing tricep extensions like this, then also do a groove like where you pull the elbows back and then do the triceps like this. So you hit the different heads of the tricep, and you work with different rep ranges. Do, sets of 10, and then sometimes do sets of 30, and basically work with those different rep ranges. And that's a great way to hit the triceps and get some stimulation, right? Now, Dean Cook, okay. Okay, let me see here what's going on here. Okay, end of the day, if you got peasant genetics, train all you want, still get dominated in every aspect. Jason will stop now, mate. Keep up the good work, because I'm going to book a flight and do some triple drops. Okay, don't know what the hell he's talking about here. Okay, how many hours do I train a day, Line of God? I train about an hour and a half a day. And then recently, honestly, I've been the worst because I took a few weeks off and I didn't train at all. So I don't usually do that, but my body needed it. I had to do it. So I just was like, okay, that's it. I'm just taking some time off and focusing on other things. And it was good. It was good. Ahmed Khalaf, hey, Galan, I noticed you do a lot of your reps of partial range of motion. Actually, I don't do reps with partial range of motion, Ahmed, just so you know. I do full range of motion of where you hit the muscle. But when you do full, like a lot of people, like say I go to here, and then they say, oh, you could still go to here. Well, look at this. Now my forearms hit my bicep. Now I'm using this as a lever to break apart my elbow. Like, why would I do that, right? So that's not really full range of motion. That's like stupid range of motion. That's really what that is. And that is really what's being perpetuated on the internet right now, is they're saying, oh, if you don't go extreme range of motion, then you're doing partial reps. Well, no, the partial reps that you're saying that I'm doing, that's actually full range. And what I'm doing is I'm keeping the tension on the muscle. So say I come down with a tricep extension, I come down here and then I come up to here. This is full, right? Because from here to here, there's not really any more gravity on the joint, right? Because once the arm is above me, from here to here, there's nothing really else going on. What really I'm doing is I'm taking actually tension off the muscle. At that point, the majority of the tension is here. So I use all my energy for the majority of the tension where the stretch is. And then from there up here, I don't really focus on the squeeze too much. Now I do some moments where there's squeeze involved, but I may do a cable for that or something else. But I just focus on keeping the tension on the primary part of the exercise where the most amount of tension on the muscle is happening. Okay. When are you going to make a comeback on stage? I don't know, Bobby. I don't think that's going to happen at this point. I don't know. I mean, in my life is like, there's just too many things that the bottom line is that getting on stage, it's just such an ego endeavor in some way. Like, so if I get on stage and I start posing and whatever, then I have to over diet, right? So my entire lifestyle has to be around that. Second of all, there's no income or nothing to support it. Third, when I get on stage, I'll be judged on things I can't control, such as the partial bicep tear or also the dislocating shoulder, and say my posing is out of balance and stuff. Like, these are things that I can't control. They just happen to me in my life from playing hockey and all this. And then when you get on stage, you get judged on these types of things. So they would actually work against me. So I'm thinking to myself, like, what's the point of going through all that work to get on stage to get judged on things that I can't control? So that's a big thing that also is there. And also, of course, the effort involved, is it really worth it when it basically takes away from every aspect of your life up until the show? Whereas I'd rather work on music, I'd rather work on more video, I'd rather do photography, I'd rather do these things. So we'll see. But my priorities always change. There's always sometimes inspiration that hits me. So I can't say for sure no, but I'm just saying at this point right now, I'm saying no. Okay, so. All right, train muscles, not the joints. Foo. Okay, good, Joseph. That's hilarious. Okay, so right. Any tips for bicep tendon rehab? I did partially tear bicep during unilateral farmer's walk. Okay. I would say wait till you're fully healed first, and then start doing light, Paige. So basically, if I take about 5 to 6 weeks off for sure, and then when you start training, then just do light stuff, especially in like any sort of preacher type situation. Like, do super light, like just to get the burn, but don't focus on getting heavy right away, and just to recalibrate and to reconnect with the muscle. But yeah, after a partial tear of a bicep, you're going to notice that there's going to be your body's going to shift, because the bicep helps stabilize the shoulder. And that's the one thing that surprised me when I partially tore the bicep with a chiropractor years ago. What happened was that caused my bench press groove to change, and it actually totally affected my bench press. So your shoulder stability will change, everything will change. So you're going to have to be careful when you do movements. Don't be going into 1 rep maxes right away or anything like that. Really focus on learning how to lift again and work up slowly with lighter weight. And then from there, you'll notice that you'll start to find your new groove. But yeah, that's the best advice I could give you. Just start slow. Okay, let me see here. I just got to read this message here. Just got help for review. Okay. Let me go back here. Okay, sorry guys. I know this is kind of the thing. This is why I don't like doing live video too much. You got to read comments and kind of do these things. I don't have somebody do this at the same time. So, okay. Michael, I'll answer your question here. At 45 to 40 pounds overweight, should I be focusing on cardio more than weight training? I also want to build muscle. I would say focus on weight training as your main thing, Michael, because weight training increases metabolism. It's kind of like if you want wealth, you're better off working on having real estate that brings in residual income rather than just basically liquidating all your assets. So I know it's not really a great metaphor, but it's kind of similar in a way that in order to get the most results in fat loss, you want to increase your residual income that comes through metabolism, through your metabolism, right? So how do you increase your metabolism? You increase the muscle mass and the muscle tone. Now, through the weight training, you also raise the metabolism over a period of a couple of days, because once you actually break down muscle tissue, then over the next few days, the body is starting to recover. And through this recovery process, it burns calories, right? Trying to bring nutrients and stuff to the muscle to recover, and also the sinew, the bone, all these things. So this is something that you want to concentrate on. And then you do cardio at the end of your workout. So after you've done all the weight training and burned up the glycogen in the muscle, then you go and do some cardio. And then from there, you're going to be burning energy from the fat stores. So that's the way I always did it anyway. So I think you're better off with that. Yeah, muscle mark, there's no income in a sport, but here's the thing. In natural bodybuilding, that's where there's really no income. That's why I got out of it years ago. It wasn't sustainable, right? I competed in the natural universe several years in a row and everything like that, and there was absolutely no money in it. So you get a couple $100 from a sponsor, you get the front cover of a magazine, you make a couple $100 for that. I mean, it was brutal, right? So, and that was before this internet age where people could make money on YouTube or, promoting their brand or creating their own podcast or something. But yeah, before that, there was none of this either, right? So the thing is that there's no income in natural bodybuilding, really. No. Bob is asking me if I ever thought about doing TRT. Watch my video on why I decided to be a natural bodybuilder, and you'll know the answer to that question. But the short answer is no. I'm not interested at all. If my body doesn't have the ability to heal, then I'm going to look at my diet. I'm going to look at my own body naturally, what I'm ingesting, and find out what's going on there. And then, of course, also deal with the acceptance of it all, that, hey, we get older. That's what happens. I mean, we're not going to be at 20 years old forever. I mean, that's just what happens. So instead of messing with my body and throwing in hormones and BS, right, I'm going to basically just say, oh, screw it. Then bodybuilding's not that important. So this is called wisdom, where you basically learn how to accept life and instead of fighting it the whole time. I mean, in the end, you can't avoid death. So why are we trying to avoid the subtle fluctuations that also happen in the body, right? So I'm going to trust in exercise. I'm going to trust in my diet, and I will naturally try to address things, but I'm not going to go to some sort of drug or anything to distort myself just so I can have ab veins or some shit. Like, I don't know. I just don't agree with it. Fundamentally, I just don't agree with using hormones. That's it. J667, how should you work up to do pull-ups? You can't even do one. Actually, one way you could do it is that you use those resistance bands, and you actually, a lot of people do this at the gym that I go to, Murphs. Basically, you hang that resistance bands from the actual chin-up bar, and there's different bands that have different tensions. Like one will lift 50 pounds, one will lift 40 pounds, whatever. Anyway, you put your feet on that, and then you do chins with that under your feet, and then slowly but surely you can start working up to less and less resistance in those bands. So lighter and lighter bands. So you're not getting as much help. And then at some point you'll be able to do a full chin up, right? Now, another way to do it is to do negatives. You basically pull up a chair to the chin up bar, and you basically push yourself up with your feet and then just slowly lower. And then do it again, slowly lower, and do those negatives. And that can also help. Okay, I'm almost done here. Okay, so somebody's saying that I talked in my video that you should be hitting 90 degrees for your body-specific joint angle. Okay, I don't know what context I said that in, but let's just say for squats or something like that, there's going to be an ideal range where you feel the actual stress in the muscle belly itself, like here, here, not here, right? You feel it in the belly. You're feeling it in here. You're not feeling it right here. But a lot of people, they don't seem to be able to actually notice the difference. Like they'll actually do a motion, and then they're like feeling everything in here. They feel like their arm is going to break off or whatever, or their kneecap's going to bounce off the ceiling, but they don't seem to actually know the difference between that tension and another tension. So it's not about the angle as much as it is where is the tension? Where are you feeling it? And that's what you want to pay attention to, and that's what you want to work with. Okay. Yeah, page 232 about cannabis and stuff. I would not recommend training under cannabis. I would not. I don't really agree with cannabis. I agree with people using medicine when they need it for short periods of time, but I don't believe in it as a lifestyle choice like any other drug, right? So I'm all for medicine, and I think cannabis is probably a better medicine than a lot of other medicines that are on the market, honestly. And I think that I'm all for that. I'm all for people living their life and whatever they want to do, fine. But as far as training, I know guys that, let's just put it this way. Anything that works as a painkiller is an awareness killer. So if something works as a painkiller, it's going to dull your awareness of what's going on in your joints at the time. And I know a few guys that were going to the gym, heavily influenced on cannabis, and they were tearing muscles like on a regular basis. So I would not recommend doing that. It's basically an experience of your pump you're having is based on a disconnection, not on a deeper connection. So yeah, but that's my opinion. You asked me, so you can do whatever you want with it. I still love you anyway, so don't worry about that. Yeah. Oh, page 230. You did tear your bicep when high. Okay, well, page 232. This is a confirmation of something that you did with an experiment here, and this is something for you to understand. There was this one guy, like I said, I knew this one guy for sure. Like there was a few of them, but there was this one guy, and he tore his hamstring, he tore all those things because he showed up to the gym high all the time. And he thought that was great because, hey, he never had to experience any of the pain of his workouts. Well, guess what? He wasn't feeling the bad pain either. So he didn't get the signals when something was going wrong until it was too late. So this is the risk. You don't want to be using any type of painkiller whatsoever when you go to the gym. That's the last thing you want to do. You want your awareness to be fully there so you're aware of everything that's going on, right? So. Do I still have a rubber chicken and a space helmet for sale? No, I don't. I never had any of that. I don't know who you're talking to there, Mike. Okay. Yeah, Joseph, caffeine isn't a painkiller. That's the difference too, right? So, you know. Okay, Mike. Okay, now people are just trying to be funny, all right? Just trolling now. Now you guys are just trolling. Okay, I understand where this is going now. Okay, all right. Well, let's do this. Okay, I gotta go to the gym now, guys. So yeah, I wanted to jump on here, and okay. So Dean Cook, I don't know what's going on with what you're saying, Dean. There's lots of ranting that's been going on there. So sorry if I didn't understand exactly what you're saying. If you have a question, then I'll answer it at some point. But otherwise, if you're ranting or arguing with people, I have no idea what to do with that. So sorry about that. But yeah, guys. Well, thanks a lot for tuning in. I'll do another one of these this week or something, and I will be doing more videos and stuff and getting back in the routine here. And let me know what you thought of that song I did with Todd Richard there. That new song. It's on my last video, so make sure you check that out. It was on measuring fat levels with the machines and things. So check that video out if you haven't checked it out so far. And then in there, I actually have the Todd Richard song where I made this remix with his voice and everything. So I had him record and everything. So it's kind of neat. So I liked it anyway. It's a mountain song. So anything about the mountain must be good. So that's why I did it. But yeah, but good night, guys. And yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to basically go to the gym and yeah, train a whole body workout. So do about 3 sets each body part, maybe 4 sets, depending what I'm doing. I'm going to do some leg presses. Maybe I'll do some dips, do some heavy dips, do some bent over rows. That's what I'm going to do so far. And then maybe some shoulder presses and yeah, we'll go from there. All right. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you later.